All right, we'll get ready for the rest of our Unit 3 test. And so number 1 says choose the equation that is equivalent to y equals negative 2x minus 3. And so all we need to do is get y by itself on each of these and see which one or ones match that equation. So for letter A, we've got 3x plus 2y equals 2. And so to get y by itself, we're going to move the x to the other side. And so we'll subtract 3x on both sides. So that becomes 2y is equal to, these aren't like terms, and so we're going to drop down each of them, negative 3x plus 2. And then to get the y by itself, we're going to divide everything by 2. So y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. That does not match the equation, so A is not correct. We'll go on to B. 2x plus y is equal to negative 3. Again, I want to move the x's to the other side, so we're going to subtract 2x to the other side. Again, these aren't like terms, so they're both going to drop down as they are. Negative 2x minus 3, that matches. B is the correct answer. And I can go ahead and check the others just to make sure there's not a multiple correct answer. 6x minus 9y is equal to negative 3. Again, we'll subtract the x term to the other side. So negative 9y, make sure to keep that negative, equals negative 6x minus 3. And then we'll divide by negative 9. So y equals negative over negative is a positive, and that's going to be 2/3 if you simplify it. And then negative over negative is a positive, and that's 1/3. That does not match. C is not correct. I'll come right down here and do D. Negative 2x plus 2y is equal to 3. And so again, I'm going to move my x to the other side. 2y equals 2x plus 3. And then we'll divide by 2. So y equals x plus 3 over 2. And again, that doesn't match either. So the only correct answer is B. Number 2. What is the y-intercept of the line described by this equation? So again, I want to get the y all by itself. And so we're going to move the x term to the other side like we just did on the previous. So 6y is equal to negative 3x minus 18. And then we'll divide everything by 6. So that becomes y is equal to, that's going to be negative 1/2 x minus 18 divided by 6 is 3. That's the y-intercept. Number 3 wants to know what is the slope. And so again, I need to get the y by itself. So we're going to move the x term to the other side. And so again, these aren't like terms. They're both going to drop down as they are. And then we're going to divide everything by 2. So y equals 4 divided by 2 is 2x plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. And so the slope is this right here. So m equals 2. Number 4 says Ms. Harris is hosting a classroom competition between her different class periods. She has problems over the latest unit around the class for students to answer. The class periods start off with a baseline of 50 points, but for each question the class period gets correct, they add another 10 points per question. So that's the one that's changing. This is going to be my slope. And this is my y-intercept. The class period with the most points at the end of the day gets to have a class party the following day. What is the equation and slope-intercept form that models this equation? So y equals, this is the one that's changing, that's my slope, and then adding the y-intercept of 50. All right, we'll go to the next page. All right, so for number 5, we're going to graph this line. This one's already in slope-intercept form, and so my m is 2, or 2 over 1. My b is negative 3. And so we're going to start at negative 3, and then we're going to go up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1, or down to left 1, down to left 1. Because there's no equal sign, this is going to be a dotted or a dashed line, however you want to say it. And because it's less than, we're going to be shading below. And so again, because there's no equals, it's going to be a dashed. Because it's less than, it's going to be below. And so we're going to make a dashed line going through these dots best we can. And then we're going to shade below the graph, the line. All right, so number 6 says using the graph above from question 5 is the point 3, 4 part of the solution set. So we'll go to 3, 4, the x is 3, the y is 4, and it's right outside the shaded region. So the answer is going to be no, because it's not in the shaded region. So it can't be a yes. The point is not in the shaded region. That sounds good. The point is not on the line. That's not the reason. C is the correct answer. And just to be clear, since it's a dotted or a dashed line, if the dot were to be right on the line, it would not be included because a dashed line is not inclusive. Number 7, describe the line and the shaded direction of the inequality. And so on this one, because there's no equals, it's going to be dotted or dashed. And because it is greater than, it's going to be above. So it's not solid. It's going to be dashed, shaded above. That's C. All right, number 8 says which answer choice best represents this graph. And so we've got this graph without even looking at the answer choices. I see that it goes through the y-intercept is 2. So I'm going to be looking for a 2. My m, it looks to be going down 1, right 1. So my m is -1. It's a dashed line, and so we're going to have an inequality with no equals, and it's shaded below, so it's going to be a less than symbol, no equals. So these are the 3 things that we're going to look for. Less than or equal to, I just want less than. Less than, that's good. Greater than, nope. Greater than or equal to, nope. I can already tell it's this, but also the slope is -1. The y-intercept is 2. B is the correct answer. Which graph best represents this right here? And so we need to get the y by itself, so we're going to divide everything by -2. And so we have y. Because we divided by a negative, we have to flip the inequality. So this greater than is going to become less than or equal to, and then we're going to have -3x. Negative over negative is a +4. So it should go through 4. It should be a solid line, and we should be shading below the line. And so we start at 4. This one starts at 4. That's good. This one starts at 4. That's good. This one does not start at 4. It's not C. This one does not start at 4. It's not D. So it's going to be A or B. Next off the lines really do look the same. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. So they both are good on the slope. Because it's less than, it has to be shaded below. This one is not correct. This one is correct, because A is shaded below the line. All right, so go to the last page. Which of the following represents the correlation coefficients calculated for a regression equation ordered from strongest to weakest? So just as a reminder, as far as strength goes, the closer it is to -1 or +1 is the strongest. And so this is strong, and this is also strong. The 0.7 or -0.7 is where it changes, and this area in here is weak. And so the closer it is to -1 or +1, the stronger it is. And so we're going to kind of disregard the negatives and just look at the numbers and see which ones are closest to 1. And so this is 0.9810. That's really close to 1, actually -1 on this one. There is no other 0.9, so this one's going to be first. -0.9810. Next, we'll look at the next highest number in the 10th place. This is going to be the next highest. That's my second highest. And so 0.8976. So I'm done with those two. Next off, I'll look at these two. Again, I don't care about the negative or positive. This one is the highest 10th value. So that's going to be my third one, 0.5671. Lastly, this one, -0.1895. So that is the weakest correlation, almost a no correlation. Number 11, the height and weight of several adults were recorded. What is the best prediction of the weight of someone who is 5 feet tall? And so that's going to be the height, and we want to know what's the predicted weight of that person. So to do this, we're going to start by putting this in Desmos, and make sure put all the points in Desmos, not just some of them, all of them. So I'm going to pause it, put it in my Desmos, and then I'll show you what I do from there. All right, so I put all the coordinates from the table into Desmos. And then one thing that's really good habit to do is just check through your points, make sure you entered everything correctly. If you have a typo on anything, it's going to mess up your numbers. And so we're going to press this add regression line, and it finds the line of best fit, the regression line that goes through these dots the best. And so here's my equation right here. And so then again, we want to estimate when the person is 5 feet tall, how much will they weigh? So we're going to press this button right here, which copies and pastes the equation. We're going to come up here to the edit list and make a table of this equation. And then in the x's, we'll put in 5, and there it gives us the y value. And so the y value is 112.77. And so we'll go back to our paper and finish this off. All right, so just to kind of go through what all we had in Desmos. In Desmos, whenever we put it in, we had the equation was y equals 51.12, I'll estimate that x, minus 142.84. That was the equation. The r was 0.9954, which means this is a strong positive correlation. But then to answer the question, if somebody was 5 feet tall, we would expect them to be 112.77 pounds. And so if we were to round to the nearest pound, it'd be 113 pounds. All right, number 12 says scientists have determined there might be a correlation between the temperature and the number of chirps produced by crickets. Use a table to find the slope of the regression line. And then scientists have determined there might be a correlation between the temperature and the number of chirps produced by crickets. Predict the number of chirps when the temperature is 90 degrees. And so these both go with this table right here. And so again, I'm going to go into my Desmos and I'm going to put in this table, and then we'll find these things right here. All right, so I've put in all the points into my Desmos. And again, it's a good habit to just go through, check that you've had everything correctly. Here's my equation right here, along with my R. And then again, to answer that last question, we'll copy the equation down. We'll make the table of the equation. And I want to know when the when the temperature is 90 degrees. And so there's my y value. We would expect to have about 200 chirps. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and transfer all of this to our paper. All right, so our equation was y equals 3.86x minus 148.04, and so the slope is 3.86. And then when we plugged in 90 into the table, we got that it was 199.73, which would be 200 chirps per minute. And that completes number 13. Now last one. Number 14 says the number of students on it says shows. I think that's supposed to be shots. I don't know. The shots, the number of students on a basketball team and the number of free throws each student made during practice. What is the best estimate of the correlation coefficient? So we want to find the R value. So again, we're going to put all of these into our table. This one will be our X, and then the bottom one will be the Y. And so again, we'll go ahead and put all of this in Desmos. All right, so here's the table that I put in. And again, that's always a good habit. Check, make sure you have everything put in correctly. And so then I'll look, here's my equation down here, but the question on this one's asking for the R. And so there's the R down there. And if we look, it's 0.2887. That's a weak positive correlation. And if we look at the graph, the dots are pretty far away from the line. That's why it's weak, because it's pretty far away from the line. And so we'll go ahead and go to our paper and finish this off. All right. So to finish this one off, again, we had the equation was y equals 0.285, I'll put 6, x plus 2.571. But it doesn't ask us for the slope or the y-intercept. It asks us for the r. The r is 0.2887, which is a weak positive correlation. And that completes this review. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help you.